YouTube recommended me a video recently titled, "I voted for Trump and I regret it." It was an interesting peer into the mind of the demographic of people who turned out for Trump in 2024 that probably fascinates me the most. Obviously not the die-hard MAGA cultists, because of course that demographic will turn out for Trump, but rather young men around my age who consider themselves independents, who voted for Trump because he seemed like the real change candidate, the candidate who would take a sledgehammer to the status quo. And the person in the video I am referencing says that is a large part of the reason why they voted for Trump in 2024. Trump seemed like a candidate who represented normal people like you and me. Meanwhile, Kamala was campaigning around with people like Beyonce, neocon warhawks like Dick and Liz Cheney, getting endorsements from mega-rich celebrities like Taylor Swift, whereas Trump seemed like he was one of the bros, going on podcasts like Theo Von's and Joe Rogan's. The problem I have with this line of thinking, though, is Trump already had 4 years of being president. One of the hallmarks of his first term was his 2017 tax cuts that disproportionately favor the 1%, that was made permanent earlier this month via the Big Beautiful Bill. Billionaires get to hoard even more of their wealth to themselves while trickling nothing back down to the working class they exploit. This man was a billionaire real estate tycoon before his presidency, who never once related to normal people throughout his entire life because he was born into wealth because his father was also a mega-rich real estate tycoon. I'm supposed to believe that someone who hails from that background is going to be this ardent defender of the working class and relate to the working class one bit? Fuck no. There was also the point brought up in the video that Trump promised he would be anti-war, and yet here he is aiding and abetting Israel in its genocide of Palestinians, and getting this country involved in Israel's conflict with Iran. Again, I point you to his first term. Assassinating Soleimani, pulling this country out of the Iran nuclear agreement, an agreement that Iran was abiding to. And pulling out of said agreement, by the way, is a big reason as to why this conflict between Israel and Iran, that Israel really wants to drag this country into, is happening in the first place. These aren't the actions of some principled diplomat, these are the actions of the very warmonger you thought this man wasn't in the first place. Look, on one hand, yes, I am glad that this guy and a lot of other people like him who voted for Trump in November are seeing the light, quote unquote. But there are so many comments under this video saying, "It is commendable that you can admit that you were wrong, and you should not be shamed for the decision that you made." At what point do you finally start to put at least some onus on the voter for not seeing what is so blatantly obvious? This man is a two-faced con artist. He just knows how to brand himself. He makes big promises constantly that he seldom delivers on, like the border wall that Mexico was gonna fund. That was the centerpiece of his 2016 campaign. And then a few years into his first term, the government shut down for over a month because Trump was going to veto any spending bill that didn't meet a specific threshold of money that he demanded for the construction of the border wall. All of that talk of making Mexico pay for it conveniently vanished after Trump was elected the first time. And that's just one of so many obvious lies and deceptions that Trump has told over the years. And I'm sorry, my patience has run out for people who fall for obvious lies over and over again and yet are shocked every single time they find out they were duped. These are not naive children who you can say will hopefully grow out of their naivete someday. These are grown adults who have a say in who will head the highest and most influential office in not only this country, but this fucking world. And now we are in a situation where the person in that position, who many of these naive adults voted for, is using his power to strengthen, embold, and dramatically overfund ICE, which is effectively his Gestapo at this point, to arrest immigrants who are in this country legally or are in the process of becoming legal citizens by attending court hearings that are scheduled, and they're getting arrested in courthouses, or people are getting arrested for engaging in anti-Israel protests, which is protected under their First Amendment rights. The, "oh, I didn't know Trump would be so brazen," and "oh, I didn't know Trump is actually not anti-establishment" excuses ran out after the first term. We have an ill-informed electorate who doesn't vote on anything else besides which candidate has the better vibes, and which candidate is showing up more on their fucking TikTok feed, and which candidate is being talked about more favorably by their favorite influencers and podcasters. And I'm past past the point of treating these people with kid gloves. Yes, they made a mistake. Yes, they owned up to their mistake. Good for them. But their mistake and the situation they helped put this country in could have been easily averted had they done the most basic research on the guy they voted for. But who's to say they're not going to be swindled by some other Republican candidate in 2028 who invokes the same faux populist language that Trump engages in? Their social media algorithms point them to big influencers and podcasters talking favorably about this candidate and how they're supposedly so outside the establishment, bro. They fall for the ruse again, vote that candidate in, and here we are in the same position in 2029, where we get people talking about how they feel so swindled. Too many people are captured by social media algorithms and talking heads, convincing them to adopt talking points that go against their best interests, and to vote against their best interests, because what's against the public's best interest is typically in the best interest of the billionaires who these same talking heads are on the payroll of, and who own many of these prominent social media platforms. And there are people who figures like Donald Trump are either a part of or directly adhere to. But even still, after a full term of Trump directly doing the bidding of the 1%, anyone who voted for him in 2024 thinking he was this edgy outsider, and now they feel lied to because he's, well, not that, have zero excuses. I've even seen some people say, I thought Trump was anti-establishment, but this whole Epstein scandal has really opened my eyes. Yeah, like there weren't already several pictures and videos of them rubbing elbows and statements from both of them saying that they're each other's good friend. Nope, this is a bombshell that was only unveiled just earlier this month. I mean, fuck. When faced with an electorate this ill-informed and this easily misguided, how could you possibly resist the urge to stop holding your tongue? Anyway, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.